Ethan Langford was a man who rarely showed his true feelings. As the CEO of Langford Hotels, one of the biggest hotel chains in the country, he was known for his sharp mind and strict decisions. His office was high up in a glass building downtown, filled with polished furniture and expensive art. Many saw him as a cold and distant leader who only cared about profits. But Ethan knew there was more to the story. For months, the Langford Hotel branch on Maple Street had been losing money. Complaints about the staff were rising, and the hotel's reputation was falling fast. Ethan's board was pressuring him to fix the problem or close the branch for good. But instead of giving orders from his fancy office, Ethan decided to do something different. He wanted to see the hotel through the eyes of his employees, the people who worked every day to keep the place running. So, one early Monday morning, Ethan changed his clothes. He put on an old jacket, simple shoes, and a cap to hide his face. He told the security guard at the entrance that he was a new maintenance worker named Eric. No one knew who he really was. No one, except the receptionist, who thought he was just a quiet new employee. Ethan's heart beat fast as he stepped inside. The hotel lobby was busy. Guests checked in with tired faces, and staff hurried to serve them. Ethan walked to the back, where the employees gathered. The break room was small and smelled of coffee and old cleaning products. He introduced himself quietly and tried to blend in. The first day was hard. Ethan learned to carry heavy boxes, fix broken lights, and clean messy rooms. His hands ached, and his legs felt sore by the end of the day. But what surprised him most was the staff. They did their jobs with little complaint even when the hotel was falling apart around them. One person stood out, a young maid named Rosa. She was quiet, but she worked with care. Ethan noticed how she smiled at guests, even when she looked tired. She always had a kind word for other employees and helped wherever she could. But there was something more. Sometimes, Ethan saw her pause by the window and stare outside, her eyes full of sadness. Ethan wanted to talk to Rosa, but the hotel rules made it hard. Staff didn't have much time to chat, and Ethan couldn't reveal who he was. So he watched from a distance, learning more every day. On the third day, Ethan saw Rosa again during her break. She sat alone in the break room, holding a small paper tightly in her hands. It was a hospital bill, crumpled and folded many times. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She tried to wipe them quickly, but Ethan had already noticed. He felt a strange pull inside him. No one should have to cry like that at work. But Rosa didn't ask for help. She was strong, but the pain showed in her eyes. Ethan wanted to reach out, but he held back. Instead, he kept watching. He learned that Rosa worked. 2 jobs, this hotel job and another cleaning job at a nearby cafe. She did it all to send money home. Her family was small. Her younger brother Miguel was sick in the hospital, and the bills were piling up. One evening, Ethan followed Rosa after her shift. She walked slowly down the empty street, her shoulders heavy with worry. He almost called out to her, but he stopped. He was still Eric, the worker. For now, he had to learn more. Back at the hotel, Ethan met the branch manager, Mr. Collins. The manager was loud and strict. He blamed the staff for the hotel's problems, calling them lazy and careless. Ethan listened in silence. He knew the real problem was not the workers, but the leadership that didn't care. That night, Ethan sat in the small room he was given and thought about Rosa. He knew the hotel was more than a business. It was people's lives, their hopes and struggles. If he wanted to fix the hotel, he had to fix the heart of it. The next morning, Ethan arrived early. He greeted Rosa with a small smile. For the first time, she smiled back. Not just at a guest, but at a co-worker. Something had changed. Maybe, just maybe, she felt that someone cared. Ethan decided to stay longer undercover. He wanted to see everything, the good and the bad, and maybe help someone like Rosa before it was too late. The morning sun shone through the tall windows of the Langford Hotel, but the warmth did not seem to reach the tired faces inside. Rosa moved quietly through the busy halls, her cleaning cart pushing softly behind her. She kept a steady pace, careful to finish each room on time. She smiled politely to guests, but did not speak much. The worry inside her was heavy and silent. Ethan, still working as Eric, noticed the small things about Rosa. How she paused to straighten a picture on the wall, even if no one was watching. How she bent down to pick up a lost earring for a guest and handed it back with a gentle smile. She worked like someone who cared deeply, even when everything around her felt broken. That afternoon, Ethan found Rosa sitting alone in the small break room. Her hands trembled as she held the folded hospital bill. He could see the pain in her eyes. She looked up quickly when she heard footsteps and wiped her cheeks with the back of her hand, trying to hide her tears. Ethan stood by the door, unsure if he should say something. Finally, he spoke softly. "Are you okay?" Rosa looked away, her voice barely a whisper. "It's nothing. Just tired." But Ethan did not believe her. Something about her sadness was real and deep. He pulled a chair and sat down across from her. "I'm Eric," he said. "If you want to talk, I'm here." Rosa shook her head, but Ethan stayed silent. Sometimes, the quiet presence of another person was enough. After a moment, Rosa's voice came out, shaky but honest. "My brother, Miguel, he's very sick," she said. "He needs surgery, but the hospital wants the money first. My pay, it's never enough." Ethan's heart tightened. He knew that many people faced hard times, but hearing Rosa's story made it real. She wasn't just a worker in a hotel. She was a sister, a fighter, trying to hold her family together. "I'm sorry you have to carry this alone," Ethan said gently. "Is there anything I can do?" Rosa looked at him, surprise flashing in her eyes. "No one can help. We have tried everything." Ethan wanted to believe her, but he also felt a spark of hope. Maybe he could do something after all. The days went by. Ethan watched Rosa struggle. She worked harder than anyone, but the worry never left her face. She still smiled for the guests and helped her co-workers, but Ethan could see the cracks beneath her smile. One morning, Ethan arrived early to the hotel's back entrance. He saw Rosa sitting on the steps outside, her head in her hands. She looked exhausted. Without thinking, Ethan sat beside her. "Why do you do this?" Ethan asked quietly. "Work so hard, even when you're so tired?" Rosa looked up, surprised by his question. "Because I have to," she said. "My parents died years ago. Miguel is all I have left. If I don't work, he won't get better." Ethan nodded, understanding more than he could say. "You're very strong." Rosa smiled weakly. "Sometimes I don't feel strong. I just keep going." Ethan wanted to reach out and comfort her, but he remembered his role. He was still undercover. For now, he could only listen and learn. At work, the problems with the hotel grew worse. The manager, Mr. Collins, shouted at the staff for small mistakes. He blamed Rosa once for missing a spot while cleaning, even though she had been rushing all day. Ethan saw how the staff flinched when Collins raised his voice. One afternoon, Ethan decided to speak with a few employees quietly. They shared stories of their struggles, long hours, little pay, no medical help. Many were worried about their families but felt stuck. Ethan's mind raced. The hotel was not just losing money, it was losing its heart. That evening, as Ethan locked up his tools, Rosa approached him. She seemed nervous. "Eric, can I ask you something?" she said. "Of course," Ethan replied. "Do you ever feel like no one cares? Like you're invisible?" Ethan was quiet for a moment. "Sometimes, but I believe everyone deserves to be seen." Rosa smiled, a little brighter this time. "Thank you, Eric." As Rosa walked away, Ethan thought about how small acts of kindness could matter. He wanted to be someone who cared, even if no one knew it was him. That night, Ethan sat in the small room provided for him and looked at the hospital bill Rosa had left on a table. He didn't know how he could help yet, but he knew he had to try. The next day, Ethan asked for more time off from his undercover work. He wanted to visit the hospital and learn about Miguel's condition. When he met the doctors, he saw the harsh reality. Without payment, the surgery could not happen. Miguel's life hung in the balance. Ethan returned to the hotel with a heavy heart. Rosa was there, cleaning rooms with quiet determination. He approached her carefully. "I want you to know," he said slowly, "that you are not alone." Rosa looked up, tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. Ethan wished he could tell her everything, that he was the CEO and that he would fix this. But he needed more time. Time to understand, to plan, to help in the right way. For now, he would stay Eric, the quiet worker who noticed the cracks in a smile and believed in hope. Ethan had never seen a world like Rosa's before. Outside the hotel's polished floors and bright lights, her life was a constant struggle. As he continued working undercover, Ethan wanted to understand everything: how Rosa lived, what she dreamed of, and what held her back. One afternoon, after finishing his shift, Ethan waited near the hotel's back exit. He saw Rosa walk out, carrying her small bag. She looked tired but determined. He followed quietly, keeping a distance, until she turned into a narrow street filled with old houses. Rosa lived in a small apartment on the third floor of a weathered building. The paint on the walls was peeling and the windows were cracked. The neighborhood was noisy and busy, with children playing in the streets and neighbors shouting greetings to each other. Ethan watched as Rosa unlocked her door and stepped inside. He stayed hidden, curious but careful not to be seen. Inside, the apartment was simple but clean. A worn couch sat near a small kitchen, and a few pictures of a smiling boy were taped to the wall. That boy was Miguel. Rosa sat down carefully on the couch and took a deep breath. She looked at a small pile of papers on the table: medical bills, hospital notes, and a photo of Miguel in a hospital bed. Ethan felt a wave of sadness wash over him. Here was a young woman working hard every day, but carrying a heavy burden, alone. He wanted to help, but he wasn't sure how. The next day, Ethan found a moment to talk to Rosa during their short lunch break. They sat together on a bench behind the hotel, away from the busy front desk and noisy guests. "Tell me about Miguel," Ethan said gently. Rosa hesitated but then smiled softly. "Miguel is 12. He was always full of life. Running, laughing, playing soccer with his friends. But last year he got very sick. Doctor said he needs surgery. It is expensive, and we don't have enough money." Ethan nodded, listening carefully. "We had some savings, but the bills keep coming. I work here and at a cafe nearby, but it is never enough. Sometimes, I wonder if I can do more." Tears filled her eyes again, but this time, Ethan reached out and gave her a comforting smile. "You're doing more than you know." Rosa looked at him with a mixture of hope and doubt. "Thank you, Eric." Over the next few days, Ethan watched Rosa's routine closely. Every morning she arrived early, cleaning rooms and hallways. In the afternoon, she rushed to the cafe, scrubbing tables and washing dishes until late at night. Even when she was exhausted, she greeted guests with kindness and patience. One evening, after a long day, Ethan saw Rosa sitting on the curb outside the hotel. She was holding a small bag of groceries, but her eyes were empty and distant. Ethan sat beside her. Quietly, "Do you ever get time to rest?" he asked. Rosa shook her head. "Not much. If I stop, I don't have money for Miguel's medicine or food. I have to keep going." Ethan felt a deep respect for her strength. "You are very brave, Rosa," She looked at him with a faint smile. "I have no choice." That night, Ethan thought about Rosa's world, a world of hard work, worry, and little rest. He realized that her story was not just about one family, but about many people who worked silently, carrying pain without complaint. The next day, Ethan decided to learn more about the hospital bills. He asked around and found out that the hospital had a strict policy: no surgery without full payment. There was no way to pay in parts or delay the bill. The money had to be there up front. Ethan's heart sank. He knew that Rosa was doing everything she could, but the system left no room for mercy. Later, Ethan met with the hotel manager, Mr. Collins. He wanted to understand if the company had any support for employees facing emergencies. Collins frowned. "We pay them what we promised. If they want extra help, they should ask charity or government programs. We can't be responsible for everything." Ethan felt anger rise inside him. The manager did not see the people behind the work. He saw only numbers and complaints. That evening, Ethan returned to the hotel break room. Rosa was there, folding towels quietly. "Rosa," Ethan said, "I want you to know I'm trying to help." "You don't have to carry this alone." Rosa looked up, surprised. "Thank you, Eric. That means a lot." Ethan smiled, but he knew words were not enough. He needed a plan, something real that could change things for Rosa and others like her. The next few days, Ethan worked harder than ever. He fixed broken lights, cleaned windows, and even helped the kitchen staff during busy hours. But his mind was always on Rosa and Miguel. One afternoon, as he cleaned a guest room, Ethan found a small, handwritten note left behind. It said, "Be strong. You are not alone." He smiled, wondering if someone had left it for Rosa or maybe for himself. That night, Ethan stayed up late, thinking about how to change the system. He realized that being a CEO meant more than making money. It meant caring for the people who made the company run. Before falling asleep, Ethan promised himself he would do everything he could to help Rosa and her brother. He would make sure no one else cried alone over unpaid hospital bills. The next morning, Ethan woke up with a new sense of purpose. He was ready to face the challenges ahead, to learn the truth about his company, and to fight for those who needed help the most. And Rosa? She kept working, unaware that her quiet strength was about to change everything. Ethan's days as Eric were filled with new discoveries, but none troubled him more than what he learned in the manager's office. One afternoon, while fixing a broken light in the hallway outside the manager's room, Ethan overheard a meeting. Curious, he quietly moved closer to listen. Inside, the hotel's branch managers were gathered around a table. Mr. Collins, the branch manager, was speaking loudly and angrily. The other managers listened, some nodding, some looking uneasy. "We are losing money fast," Collins said. "The staff is lazy, careless, and unmotivated. That's why our guests complain and our ratings drop." Ethan's heart sank. He knew. The staff worked hard. They were tired and worried, yes, but not lazy. Collins continued, "We need to cut costs, stop giving bonuses, and fire anyone who doesn't meet our standards. These people don't understand the business. They don't care," a manager spoke up nervously. "But what about employee problems? Some workers are struggling with personal issues, sick family members, financial problems." Collins waved his hand dismissively. "That's not our problem. We are a business. We need results. Sympathy won't fix broken rooms or late checkouts." Ethan felt anger rise inside him. This was the moment he understood the real problem. The leadership was blind to the people who worked every day to keep the hotel running. They saw workers as numbers, not as human beings with lives and struggles. Later, Ethan returned to his small room and thought about Rosa. She was not lazy or careless. She was one of the hardest workers he had ever met. Yet, the manager's words could crush her spirit. Ethan decided he needed to learn more about how the hotel treated its employees. Over the next few days, he asked quietly around the staff, Many shared stories of being yelled at, ignored, or threatened with losing their jobs if they asked for help. One housekeeper said, "They don't care if we're sick or tired. They just want rooms cleaned and beds made. If you can't do it, you're out." Another cleaner whispered, "I have a son who needs medicine, but I don't have the money. I can't tell the manager. He'll just say it's my problem." Ethan's heart broke as he heard these stories. He realized the hotel's problems went deeper than bad service or broken furniture. It was a culture of fear and indifference. One afternoon, Ethan saw Rosa near the laundry room. She looked exhausted and worried. He walked up to her and said, "How are you holding up?" Rosa forced a smile. "I'm okay, Eric. Just tired." Ethan wanted to say more, but he knew she was proud. She did not want pity or charity. She wanted understanding. That evening, Ethan made a decision. He would speak to Mr. Collins directly. If leadership could change, maybe the whole hotel could change. The next morning, Ethan asked to meet the manager. Collins looked surprised, but agreed. In the small office, Ethan spoke calmly. "Mr. Collins, I see the hotel is struggling, but I also see hardworking people like Rosa who need support." Collins shook his head. "We can't waste time and money on feelings. This is business." Ethan looked him in the eye. "People are the business. Without them, there is no hotel." Collins scoffed. Nice words, but not reality. Ethan left the office feeling more determined than ever. If the management would not listen, he would find another way to help. That night, Ethan returned to the break room where Rosa sat quietly. He placed a small gift on the table, a simple notebook with a pen. "I thought you might like this," he said softly. Rosa looked up, surprised and touched. "Thank you, Eric. Why?" "Because sometimes it helps to write down your thoughts," Ethan replied. Rosa smiled. "Maybe I will." Over the next week, Ethan continued working undercover. He saw more struggles, but also moments of kindness among the staff. They helped each other, shared meals, and gave small gifts when they could. One day, Ethan found a letter in the break room. It was from Rosa. "Dear Eric," it began. "Thank you for noticing me. For the first time, I feel someone cares. I am scared, but I will keep going." Ethan felt a warmth in his heart. He knew he had to do more than just watch and listen. He started making notes for changes. Better employee support, emergency funds, fairer management training. But he also knew it would take time and courage. The night before, Ethan planned to reveal his true identity to the staff. He sat alone in his small room, thinking about everything he had learned. The hotel was more than a business. It was a community, made of people like Rosa, who worked hard despite pain and fear. And now, Ethan was ready to lead, not just as a CEO, but as someone who truly cared. The next morning, the air in the Langford Hotel was unusually quiet. The staff moved about their duties with a certain tension they could not explain. Rumors were already spreading that the mysterious new worker, Eric, was planning something important. Ethan Langford, still in his simple clothes, stepped into the hotel lobby with a calm determination. He had spent weeks living among his employees, seeing their lives up close, the struggles, the kindness, and the courage they showed every day. Now, it was time to stop hiding. Ethan called a meeting in the hotel's small conference room. The staff gathered, maids, cleaners, receptionists, kitchen workers, many faces that he had come to know so well. Rosa stood near the back, nervous but hopeful. Ethan took a deep breath and began to speak. "My name is Ethan Langford. I am the CEO of Langford Hotels. I have been working undercover here as Eric to understand what you face every day." There was a stunned silence. Some gasped, others blinked in surprise. Rosa's eyes widened, and she looked directly at Ethan, her heart pounding. Ethan continued, "I wanted to see the hotel through your eyes, not from the top floor, but from where you work. I have learned a lot. I have seen your hard work, your kindness, and the challenges you face. He paused, letting the words sink in. I know many of you struggle. Some have family in need of care. Some work more than one job just to make ends meet. I saw Rosa's story, and it opened my eyes. No one should have to cry alone over unpaid hospital bills. Rosa's eyes filled with tears as Ethan spoke. She had never imagined the man behind the glass building cared so much. Ethan's voice grew stronger. Starting today, things will change. We will create support programs for employees who face emergencies. We will listen to your concerns and work to improve your conditions. He looked around the room. You are not just workers. You are the heart of this hotel. Without you, there is no Langford Hotels. The room filled with quiet emotion. Some employees wiped their eyes. Others nodded slowly. After the meeting, many came forward to thank Ethan. Rosa stood near the exit, still holding the small notebook he had given her. She approached him with a shy smile. Thank you, Mr. Langford, she said softly, for seeing me. Ethan smiled warmly. Call me Ethan, and thank you for your courage. You and your brother have a place in this family. Over the next days, Ethan worked with his management team to create new policies. They set up an emergency fund for employees like Rosa, offered flexible working hours for those with family needs, and started regular meetings where staff could share their ideas and problems. The changes were not easy. Some managers resisted, fearing the cost. But Ethan was firm. If we don't care for our people, we lose everything. Rosa felt the difference almost immediately. For the first time in months, she was able to take a day off to visit Miguel in the hospital. The hospital staff greeted her kindly, and a part of the bill was covered by the new fund Ethan had started. Ethan visited the hospital too, meeting Miguel and his doctors. He promised to help however he could. Seeing the boy smile after surgery made all the hard work worth it. Back at the hotel, the atmosphere changed. The staff worked with new energy, knowing their voices mattered. Guests noticed the difference too. The smiles were brighter and the service was kinder. One afternoon, Ethan found Rosa cleaning a large suite. She looked up and smiled. How are you feeling? Ethan asked. Tired but hopeful, Rosa replied. Thank you for everything. Ethan nodded. We're just getting started. That night, Ethan sat in his office, no longer hidden. He thought about the journey, how a simple decision to go undercover had changed everything. The hotel was still a business, but now it was a community where people cared for each other. Rosa's story had opened his eyes and heart, and he knew that real leadership meant listening, understanding, and acting with kindness. As he looked out over the city lights, Ethan felt ready for the future, one where no one would cry alone in a hotel room and everyone would have a chance to be seen and supported. The days that followed Ethan's reveal brought more than just changes inside the Langford Hotel. They created a ripple effect that spread quietly but surely throughout the entire community. What started as one man's decision to understand and help his employees grew into a movement of kindness, respect, and hope. Rosa noticed the difference first. No longer did she carry the weight of her worries in silence. The new emergency fund allowed her to breathe a little easier. With part of Miguel's hospital bill paid, she could now focus on her work and care for her brother without feeling the crushing pressure of debt. One morning, as Rosa was organizing towels in the linen room, another housekeeper approached her. Rosa, she said softly, thank you for being so strong. You inspired me to ask for help too. Rosa smiled, feeling warmth spread through her chest. It was the first time she realized her struggles could help others find courage. At the front desk, the receptionist noticed a change as well. Ethan's policy to include employee voices meant the staff now felt heard and respected. Complaints were no longer met with anger but with understanding and problem-solving. Mr. Collins, who had once been cold and strict, found himself challenged to adapt. Though resistant at first, even he began to see the benefits. Morale improved, and with it, the hotel's reputation. Guests started leaving better reviews, praising the friendly, caring staff. But the most surprising change was the effect on Ethan himself. Living among his employees had opened his eyes, not just to their hardships, but to their hopes, dreams, and the strength found in community. One evening, after a long day, Ethan walked through the hotel's lobby. He saw Rosa helping a lost child find his parents, a young chef teaching a new recipe to a kitchen assistant, and the night cleaners sharing a laugh during a break. These small moments of kindness made the hotel feel like a home. Ethan realized that leadership was not about power or profit. It was about people, about lifting each other up and creating a place where everyone could thrive. Word of the changes at Langford Hotel spread to other branches. Employees at other locations reached out, asking for similar programs and support. Ethan decided to share his story openly, hoping it would inspire others. He held meetings with his leadership team, emphasizing the importance of empathy and care. "If we take care of our people," he told them, "they will take care of our guests." It's that simple. Back in the small apartment, Rosa continued to care for Miguel. The surgery had been successful, but recovery was slow. With more time and less stress, Rosa could focus on giving Miguel the love and support he needed. One afternoon, Rosa sat with Miguel, reading from a book Ethan had given her during one of his visits. "Why does he care so much, Rosa?" Miguel asked quietly. Rosa smiled gently. "Because sometimes people don't see the struggles around them, but when someone notices and helps, it changes everything." Miguel nodded, eyes bright with hope. "Maybe one day I can help too." Rosa squeezed his hand. "I know you will." Meanwhile, Ethan continued to visit the hotel daily, sometimes in his CEO clothes, other times still dressed as Eric, to stay connected. He listened to ideas, solved problems, and made sure the new policies worked for everyone. One afternoon, during a staff meeting, a young waiter stood up nervously. "Mr. Langford," he said, "thank you for caring about us. I have been able to take my sick mother to the doctor because of the new support. It means everything." Ethan smiled, feeling the full meaning of his work. The hotel was no longer just a place to work. It was a community built on trust, respect, and kindness. One evening, as Ethan walked home, he thought about how one small act of kindness, the decision to sit with Rosa and listen, had changed so many lives. He promised himself to never forget the lessons he learned undercover, to see people, not just employees, to lead with heart, not just business plans. For Ethan, Rosa, Miguel, and everyone at the Langford Hotel, a new chapter had begun, one filled with hope, courage, and the power of caring. Months had passed since Ethan Langford revealed his true identity to the staff at the Langford Hotel. The changes he had promised were becoming real, and the hotel felt different, warmer, kinder, and stronger. But for Ethan, Rosa, and Miguel, the journey was far from over. It was just the beginning of a new life filled with hope and possibilities. One bright morning, Ethan arrived at the hotel earlier than usual. The sunlight poured through the tall windows of the lobby, casting soft shadows on the marble floor. He smiled as he watched the staff moving confidently, helping guests, and greeting each other with genuine warmth. Ethan's eyes searched for Rosa. He found her near the housekeeping office, carefully folding fresh linens. When she saw him, her tired face lit up with a smile. "Good morning, Ethan," she said softly. "Good morning, Rosa. How are you and Miguel doing?" Ethan asked. Rosa's smile grew. "Much better. Miguel is healing well, and he even started school again last week." "That's wonderful news," Ethan said, feeling relief and happiness. "You've been so strong." Rosa shook her head, gently. "I couldn't have done it without your help, and the help of everyone here." Ethan knew the truth. Rosa's courage and hard work had inspired many. The emergency fund, flexible schedules, and open communication made a difference, but it was the people who made the real change. Later that day, Ethan held a special event in the hotel's small conference room. He invited all the employees, guests, and some members of the community. The room buzzed with excitement and hope. Ethan stepped to the front, ready to speak. "Today, we celebrate more than just a hotel," he began. "We celebrate the strength, courage, and kindness of the people who make this place special." He looked around the room, meeting familiar faces: maids, waiters, cooks, receptionists, and managers. We faced many challenges. We saw pain and struggle. But together, we chose to care. We chose to listen. We chose to help each other. Ethan's voice was steady and full of emotion. "And that is why Langford Hotel will never be the same." The room filled with applause. Rosa sat in the front row, holding Miguel's hand. Her eyes shone with tears, not of sadness, but of hope. After the event, Ethan walked outside with Rosa and Miguel. The sun was setting, painting the sky with warm colors. "Ethan," Rosa said quietly, "thank you for seeing me when no one else did." Ethan smiled warmly. "Thank you for trusting me." Miguel looked up at Ethan. "When I grow up, I want to help people like you helped me." Ethan knelt down and looked into Miguel's hopeful eyes. "You will, Miguel. I believe in you." In the weeks that followed, Ethan continued to improve the hotel and support his staff. He created training programs to help employees grow in their careers. He worked with local hospitals and charities to provide better health support for families in need. Rosa, once a quiet maid, now spoke at staff meetings, sharing her story and encouraging others to ask for help when they needed it. Her courage inspired many to believe in a better future. One evening, Ethan sat in his office, reflecting on the journey. He thought about how a simple act of kindness, a moment spent listening to a crying maid, had changed the course of many lives. He realized that true leadership was about heart, humility, and the willingness to walk alongside others in their struggles. Outside the window, the city lights twinkled like stars. Ethan felt hopeful. The future was bright, not just for the Langford Hotel, but for every person who believed in kindness and change. And for Rosa and Miguel, it was a new beginning, a life filled with love, hope, and endless possibilities.